Okay, so let's take a look at how you can create the AlmaLinux instance on Google Cloud's VM. Right, for that we will be using Compute Engine on Google Cloud. So I assume that you have created your trial account with GCP along with setting up of your project as well as billing part. Right, once you set up project, you will get a dashboard like this where you can click on Create VM. I will be going through a different option, which is through main menu, compute engine, and then VM instance. Right, that's the path we follow. However, here you can see VM instance we will click on create instance, and here we will go through process of creating AlmaLinux instance. So on the right you can see the pricing summary, and left you can choose the options. Right, so here let me rename this instance to dev alma. Right, then we can pick region and so on. So currently we have region which is a bit cheaper than most of the Asian and European data centers, so I will pick that along with the available zone. Then let's pick the machine configuration. So here you have option from general purpose, which is cheaper and also shared on some of the instances. So E2 series is one such that is available, and it has 2 vCPU and 4 GB memory. Then comes computer optimized, memory optimized, and GPUs. So they will be priced a bit higher, so I will skip that. Then series wise you can pick first, second, and third generation, N1, then E2, N2, and C3. Now you can also pick machine type, where you can choose between micro, small, and medium options for machines. Right, so you will get like 1 or 2 vCPUs and 4 GB of memory. Then you have display device option, so you can use that to capture and record your display of terminal. Then comes confidential VM option. You can enable disable that based on how you want your data to be stayed encrypted. Then comes container option, where you can see your container, like let's say Docker like containers or Kubernetes instance. You can deploy those into such servers. Now next comes your boot disk option, where you can click on change. Right, if you choose operating system, let's see AlmaLinux, it should be available here somewhere. Right, so if not, you can search for them. So it's not in public image. Right, so we will check custom images. Then let's try to find that in anything uploaded. So no, it seems like we are kind of limited with available options. So let's try and check what we have. So we have like Rocky Linux. We will take a look at that later along with SUSE Linux. So like we have 2 options there, OpenSUSE. Right, so let's see if there are any existing disks. There seems to be no such options. You can also check marketplace option. So what we will do is we will pick marketplace. Right, and here I will type in, let's say AlmaLinux. Let's pick 9. Let's see if it's available. Picking that sort of option would also update your instance. So let's click on AlmaLinux here. Right, now let's see if I choose to launch it. Before that, let's take a look at price. So VM instance, which would cost something like this monthly basis. There isn't any usage fee, however sustained use would have some cost. So there is a minimum cost as well, so pay attention, right? So based on how many hours you use, the cost will be applicable. Click launch and it will go into your VM and it will try and update that particular page. Let's close this and come back here. Here you'll notice your AlmaLinux will get its own name, region will be picked, then machine configuration 2 CPU 4 GB is accepted. Our cost will now move to 29 from $28, right? So now that boot disk is selected, you can also move ahead to other options. Do remember that if you don't find any boot disk options, you can always click on change and go to marketplace to search. Some will be paid, some will be free of cost. Now here identity and API access, we will set this to default account. Then comes firewall, where you can allow HTTP and HTTPS to. Then comes advanced option, where you can pick networking, right? And I will keep the default. Then comes disk. If you want to add additional 10 or 20 GB, you can use SSD HDD to that setup. Then comes security, where you can turn on some of the options, which includes SSH keys as well, right? As you can see, by default you do have that option to use through console and gcloud. So I'll be opening this particular instance in gclouds through SSH, so that will happen within browser itself. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. Next, management. So you can enable disable deletion protection option and other options for your instance, right? Then finally, sole tenancy, you can enable disable that and based on that apply to your machine, right? The thing is, you have to set some of these options as well, right? And I will be keeping most of the options to default, right? So once you go through all of this, confirm that you have got your AlmaLinux image as well. We can proceed below to create, right? This is the create button. Click on that and it will take a bit around 4 minutes minimum to set all resources, and then your Linux will be installed. If you haven't installed any server edition, then you will notice that compared to desktop, server loads a lot quicker and is easy to set up as well. So simply click create and let's move to next step. Now let's take a look at our setup of instance. Here you can see the status is running. Our instance, if we click on it, will have its own page where we can confirm the configurations that we have selected. And next thing would be to choose the SSH option and open this entire setup in new browser window, right? So we'll be doing that. We can also take a look at option to take screenshot. Currently we can't do that, right? So if it's already in another device running, then it can be done. So we'll go for that. Next is OS info. Currently we can enable that for current project on VM, right? So this current project and the VM we have needs to be manually set up for things to work. Now if we move to observability, we will be seeing some changes here, right? Now we have to check how much CPU is being utilized once it starts running, right? So click on details, click on SSH and then click open in browser window and it will look something like this, right? And it will open a terminal view, right? As you can see, it has picked up the SSH keys and now we can log in, right? So next would be to check our screenshot option, right? As you can see AlmaLinux here. So if we use screenshot option, let's refresh, and it's still unable to capture, right? So there we go. This is our AlmaLinux. I can type in and use it just like my normal desktop does. All of this is possible through SSH in browser, right? So I can now exit, and that should also close the browser window, right? And now from here I can also remove the instance if it is not in use, right? So let's go back there. I will have it selected, let everything stop, and then click delete. Click here and it will start the deletion. Once it does, it will remove all the instances of this page.